That's what it was. It was just like, okay, I got this female, and I like shit, and I want shit. So how am I going to go ahead and I'm going to get some inroads to make sure I get what Tony would say, extract the raw materials.
Yeah.
I mean, and since I had a pocket full of money, I wasn't really scared to fall off the bike. I was just like, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and spit what I'm gonna spit, and if it don't work, maybe I'll put a little something in her hand. You know what I mean? It alleviated a lot of fear, and then the more I kept doing it, the fear of talking to women disappeared, and before you knew it, I didn't really have to use money to come up on chicks, man, because I was using them training wheels. I was using that money to make sure that I couldn't fall off the bike. Shoot, or if I did fall off, there was a short fall. You know what I mean? So yeah, if you embarking on the trick lifestyle and you using money, just think of money as training wheels, man. It's getting you in the game. It's getting you used to interacting with women. It's getting you used to possibly succeeding or getting rejected. But once again, if you ain't in the game, man, you know what they say. It's like lotto. You got to be in it to win it.
Yes.
Money, make sure that you in it. Shoot. So go ahead.
Let me ask you a question though, right?
Go ahead.
When all of us, you and I are Generation X's, right?
Yeah.
When we were young whippersnappers, when we were full of urine and vinegar,
Yeah. Yeah.
and we were trying when we were teenagers, and we would. Where's the first place? Well, I'll say I don't know about you. Maybe I'm different.
Hmm.
The first thing I want to do is I want to take a little, a teenage chick out, and I want to make a date, right?
Hmm.
Well, what's the first place we would go? The first place you would take a woman that you were going out on a date with, if you had any money, the only place you were young enough to go is where? To the movies.
Yeah.
You
True.
would take a woman to the movies, and then you would take her to get something to eat. That was a date.
Yeah.
Well,
That's what.
newsflash, tickets cost.
Yeah.
When you get in there, they want popcorn and juju fruits and milk
Hmm.
duds
Yeah.
and sodas.
Hmm.
That's money. You're taking them to dinner. Now, at that time, I didn't do Red Lobster. I did Popeyes.
Hmm.
Okay?
Yeah.
So that's money, right?
Yeah.
So when I decided to take this woman out, what I had involved a necessity of taking this woman out is I had to have money,
Hmm.
right? I
Yeah.
had to have money, for transportation. I had to have money for the movie tickets. I had to have money for the popcorn. I had to have money for the food. I had to have money that was always involved in the experiment of sex.
Yeah.
Money was always involved in the process. So why would you be ashamed about spending it?
Mm.
If you're gonna spend it anyway,
Once again, ego.
ego. Well, yeah, ego. And
Hmm.
I tell you about a story that happened to me when I was younger, right? And people say, well, why would you tell this story? It's not flattering. Because here in Mac City, we show it all, the warts, the
Yeah.
finished product, and the whole nine. When I was I had to be about 14 or 15. It was this young girl that lived in my grandmother's neighborhood. I never will forget, her name was Tracy. And she was like light skinned. She was like the cutest thing in the world with me. To me, excuse me, the cutest thing in the world to me. And I wanted to take Tracy out. But Tracy was, she was the daughter of a single mother. She had a younger, less attractive sister named Wanda, let's say.
Hmm.
And so the mother trying to be slick, said, well, the only way Tracy will go is he got to take Wanda too. What she was trying to make me do is just call off the date,
Okay.
right? So this was the summer of 1985, I think it was 84, 85. And I was working as I always kept a job as a teenager. I was working with this brick mason, rest in peace, God rest his soul, A.D. Lanier. Was our neighborhood brick mason. I would earn a little change working for him in the summer, and it was hot in Alabama during that period. And
Hmm.
so I'm out there working all week to get the money to take this girl on a date, and then I get told I got to take her sister too. So I wind up having to take her, her sister, and then at the last minute, they came with another girl, their cousin Tara. So that's three girls I have to take out on a date
Damn.
just to get to the one I'm hollering at, right?
Okay. Mm.
Right. And see
Ouch.
how this goes down, right? So you done double my date by three. So the expenses is three. So I have to take all of them. All of us went to the movie theater. And so when we went to the movie theater, um, but there's a little bit of redemption in this story. Anyway, I had to take all of them out. So I had to get movie tickets for everybody. That would by the time I finished paying for those tickets, it was about $30. That was
Hello?
for everybody. Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear
Okay,
me?
go ahead. Yeah.
By the time I finished, it was $30 for everybody to get into the theater, right? And so, and then that includes the popcorn and the soda, right? So I'm out of $50 just to get to the movies, and I didn't make but about I made about $125 working that week. So
Hmm.
$50 of it is gone
Wow.
in tickets, and so then afterwards, guess what? They all want to go get something to eat, and all of them want something to eat, you know. And so the girl who I was taking wasn't trying to get next to me. She was jaw jacking with her cousin. And so, but her cousin was coming on to me, and her cousin was attractive. And her cousin was coming on to me. And in the movie, this girl takes my hand in the movie and puts it between her legs.
Okay.
And I'm like, wow. But instead of me going with the girl, and she was an attractive girl, but it was all about Tracy. It was all about Tracy. And
Hmm.
it was like, okay, I could have actually got what I needed from Tara. But anyway, uh, Tracy was just, oh, she was so, oh, you're so sweet. You know, you're so sweet. I'm gonna have to bake
Uh,
you a cake. You know all the stuff women saying when they're getting over on you, all the
yeah.
false praise and accolades they're giving you when they, finessing you. And so she was, I'm gonna bake you a cake. And she's sitting up there laughing and eating off my money.
Mm.
And so, when it was over, I think I must have spent about $80.
Okay.
$80, right? And got no rhythm from the girl who I was taking out. You know, at 14 years old, $80 is a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I had nothing to show for it. So it was at that period that I learned that, look, it's something to this dating thing other than what they're telling me. Now, the dude that came along that wound up knocking her off while her mama was at work and her sister was upstairs, he didn't spend a dime on me.
Hmm.
He just went over there when her mama was at work, got what he wanted, and he went on about his business.
Yeah.
You see, and that's what let me know. Well, some people say, "Well, you're proving the point. You had no game." No, I'm proving that I didn't fit her particular. I was chosen. I just wasn't chosen by her,
Hmm.
so I didn't fit what she wanted. But I always had to use that to get in the door because had I not used that, I wouldn't have gotten the rhythm from the other chick who was interested, and we were
Okay.
actually like the same age. So I mean, I say that to say you have to have an understanding of what to do. What do you do when women put you in? How do you keep from being played? How do you keep from being used and exploited? And these are the things, the grievances that a lot of dudes have with women, and it took place a lot of times. This stuff happens in high school because that's a very critical point of someone's development. You're going into adulthood. That's a watershed moment in your life. So a lot of dudes have gotten scarred by that moment or traumatized, and they haven't gotten over it. And so the thing is, okay, now you enter the dating market. Your masculinity is not validated. Your manhood, your self-esteem is not validated. So what do you do at that point? Does that affect your confidence? You damn right it does affect your confidence until you figure out what your gifts are. You figure out what your gifts are. What are your skills? What's your low pair? What's your high pair? What are the things you can use to make people interested in you? Now, does that mean that's going to change your physical appearance? No. It isn't. So if your money is always going to be involved, if your money is always going to be involved, you might as well use it.
Hmm.
To me, that makes common sense.
Yeah.
If your money's involved, you might why not use it?
Yeah.
And you mean if I can cut out getting this heifer chicken, buying the popcorn and soda, and I could have stayed at home and knocked this girl off on some Netflix and chill stuff, you think I wouldn't do it?
Right. Right.
You know
Hmm.
damn well I'd do it. You
Yeah.
understand what I'm saying? So
Hmm.
I saw it as what did they say? The shortest distance between 2 points is a what?
Straight line.
Straight line. And so that's what it was to me. And then when we get out here in the dating world, we see it's more of the same. It's not any different. Now, some people say, well, pair off and stay in your own lane. That's fine. Stay in your own lane. The problem is a lot of dudes don't know that's their lane because they haven't experienced the fast lane. They don't know to get out of the fast lane because they've never been in it. And they don't know the people that are in the fast lane. They don't know the women that are in the fast lane. You don't know that KBK is in the fast lane.
Mm.
And you don't know what dealing with KBK is like in the fast lane. But when you heard that conversation, you know what it's like dealing with KBK in the fast.
Hmm.
You know what it's like dealing with a crybaby niche in the fast lane. You know what it's like dealing with a Hydra in the fast lane. And you can say, okay, you deal with them, but you deal with them from this. Okay, I can't deal with that continuously. Mac has the nervous system to deal with Hydra. I can't deal with Hydra. I mean, if I had to deal with Hydra 24/7, I would have murdered her. I would have murdered her if I had to deal with her 24/7. I don't have the patience to do that. So
Mm.
I know that's not something I can deal with 24/7. How
Yeah.
do I know that? I know that because I had the experience. How did I get that experience? I had to use the currency that she understood. That
Hmm.
doesn't mean that that was the only currency I had. That's why I came up with the rules and the 48 laws of power tricking. If you can't find common ground with somebody other than over your money, if you can't find common ground, common conversation, something you have in common with a woman other than your money, get up out of her face. Or if you
Shameless,
go ahead.
shameless plug, shameless plug. If you want to know the 48 laws of power tricking, one of the classics brought to you by Tony Maceo, you need to go to that Patreon, man. Click that Patreon link if you want to hear the 48 laws of power tricking. Sorry, brother, go ahead.
There is, if you go mess with somebody like that, you do quarterly tricking, what I
Okay.
call quarterly tricking. That's every 3 or 4 months. If you're gonna deal with a girl like that, you don't deal with a girl like that consistently. You deal with a girl like that every now and then, and you deal with a girl like that every now and then on your terms. Because if that person can only see your money, that's a robbery plot waiting to happen.
Mm.
That's somebody that's going to set you up. That's somebody that's going to put a baby on you. That's somebody that's going to steal your social security number and use it in all kind of scams. That's somebody that will go through your wallet if you leave it out. You don't want a mercenary around you.
Mm.
You
Mm.
see, so that's why we keep saying no. It's not all about your money. It is a conduit. It is a conduit to start the conversation. Now, in some instances, let's pivot into the hardcore tricking. Here's what I mean. There are some dudes that have never had the sexual experience of being with a woman,
Mm.
and it's cruel to ask those dudes that have never had that sexual experience of being with a woman to somehow get a woman and then marry her.
Mm.
He has never had sex, but the only way he can have sex is inside of marriage. A different personality in that person emerges. You could be dealing with a whole different person for all you know, and this is to the women, for all you know, that nigga could be a serial killer. You don't
Okay.
know because he hasn't explored the key aspects of his personality inside of a dating and sexual relationship. It's part of his evolution. And again, I believe the same goes for women. It's not just for dudes. I think it goes both ways. So I say that to say that there are some dudes that haven't had that win. And those guys need a win. And tricking provides, you can say I'm crazy. I don't give a
Hmm.
damn. Tricking provides a win for the dudes that never would have gotten a win otherwise. What
Okay.
do I mean when I say a win? They need a win with women. They need to get laid. You can't. Think objectively. Out on a date with a woman you're attracted to and your balls are swollen.
Oh
That will
man.
never work.
Okay.
Those dudes, you have to do something, because what will happen is, and this is why a lot of women that are into finessing and are into manipulating men, they like those kind of men out there, thirsty, desperate, and hungry with swollen balls, because they can objectively steal and manipulate.
Yeah.
They want them defenseless. They want them horny. They want them on the edge of shooting off, because they can use them. And so what I'm saying is, tricking is ostensibly a way to kill the booty lust.
Man.
So when you go out with a woman, you are not thirsty. You're not amenable to being manipulated. Like what you said. You said it disappeared. It
Yeah.
was training wheels.
Yeah.
The more confident you got, because
Yeah.
you got more and more confident, because when you fell off that, oh, this, okay, I fell off, but this ain't so bad. This is nothing for me to be afraid of. Let me get
Hmm.
back on this. Sooner or later, you don't have the training wheels, and you are riding that bike. So that's what tricking. That's what I wanted, or I believe that tricking would provide to men. It provided, and it wasn't, hey, I got $500, tramp, twerk for me. No, that's
Yeah.
not what
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
was. That's not what this is. It was a way for those guys to get a win. There was a character in the television show Sons of Anarchy. I think it was the second season. He was a federal prosecutor. His name was Lincoln Potter. I think that was the guy's name.
All right.
And he said he he blew up some plan of some crooked politician in the town of Charming, and he came in and exposed the man's dirt. And the man looked up to him. He said, "Why did you do that to me?" And Lincoln Potter looked him in the face. He said, "Because I don't like you."
Mm.
He said, "And the
Okay.
good guys need a win." And so what I'm saying is, tricking provides a way for the good guys. I believe it provides a way for the good guys to get away. And it's not done for you to disdain or have a contempt for women. It's done as a disdain. It's done as a means, excuse me, for you to experience a key aspect of your evolution of as a man. It doesn't mean that you go out here and just become decadent and become a Caligula. It's just a part of saying, hey, dude, you need to get your Jimmy wet. You
Yo,
need to
can
get
I
your
can I
wet.
interject?
Sure.
Yeah, man. It's just crazy, man. Just thinking about my evolution, man. How I mean, I would get chicks, man, but like I said, I'll be doing it. I mean, I'll low key dirty macking because I got married at a early age, man. You know what I mean? 18, 19 years old, and even through that, I missed my player phase.
Hmm.
So I was trying to do my player phase while I was married, man. I was not faithful at all, man. So I really didn't have a lot of experience with women, man. All I really had was experience with my wife, man, my high school sweetheart.
Right.
So I was naked in the game, man. I didn't know jack about broads, man. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So the thing is, like I said, getting involved with a lot of chicks, man, and I was kind of green to the game, and I was a little low key intimidated. Then I stumbled upon the tricking, and the more I was tricking, man, the more arrogant I got, man. It was crazy, man. Because I'm trying to tell you, boy, I was looking at these females like they wasn't nothing, man. I was just like, for the longest, I was scared of this. I was scared of talking to the broad. I was scared of laying down what I wanted and how I wanted it, and this and that and the third. And just pretty soon, just my very energy and aura, I just found, all of a sudden, females were just finding me, man. They were just automatically just attracted. And this is coming on the heels of the tricking. You know what I mean? Because
Right.
I had the money and I was spending it, and I thought I was just that G. You know what I mean? But pretty soon it got to the point, like I said, training wheels. I didn't need the money, man, because I was so arrogant and I was just such an a-hole. You know what I mean? It was just the natural progression and evolution of being a player, man. All of a sudden, I was true player status, man. And a lot of dudes don't believe that can happen. I'm trying to tell you, fellas, man, do not believe the Jedi mind tricks of these so-called dating gurus or select males Man, do not get them to make you downplay your strengths, no matter what they may be. Don't do it, man. Do not allow them to Jedi mind trick you. You get what makes you you, and you hone it and you sharpen it to a razor's edge, and you get the chopping, Jack. Yeah, man. Go ahead, Tony.
Well, that was the key part of what you said. When you started doing that, you gained something that the so-called select dudes or jawline Negroes had. You
Mm-hmm.
you were presented with something called options.
Yeah, exactly.
The power of options is indisputable.
Mm-hmm.
That is, and having that power of options is what gives you the confidence to be an a-hole.
Yeah,
See
yeah,
how that works?
yeah.
So, because you had the power of the options, you had the confidence to be able to say, I want this. This is what I will allow. This is what I won't allow. When you come in here, you're going to cut this cell phone off. You don't bring no Negro to my house. You see, you have the ability to put down your goon hand. You have the ability to enforce sanctions and penalties if someone does something you don't like. Why? Because you've already been involved in the field. And how did you get involved in the field? You had to pay the price for entry, the price for admission.
Yeah.
And that's all tricking is. It's the price of admission. Now, there are different degrees of tricking. I have to give y'all an education on this Sunday morning. There are different aspects of. There are some dudes that want to trick as a substitute of self-respect. They want to trick as an identity. One of my favorite movies was The Italian Job with Mark Wahlberg and Donald Sutherland.
Mm-hmm.
He said some people steal to enrich their lives, and he says some people steal to define their lives.
Mm.
He said never be the latter.
Okay.
Some people trick as an aspect of development, and some people trick to define themselves. Never be the latter. We saw, we did a commentary or feedback on Willionaire with Pimpin' Ken,
Yeah.
who's supposed to be not pimping now, who's supposed to be denouncing pimping, but he'll all that attitude always reemerges every now and then. And it was in the video where, see, Willionaire was tricking to define himself as opposed to a conduit for pleasure for him to figure out what kind of woman he want to be with. You
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't define yourself through tricking. If you saying I trick because this is what I want and this is what I like, that's one thing. But to develop your identity around trick, everything about you is I like tricking. No, that's the product of a low self-esteem.
Okay.
And that's what people think when they hear us saying tricking. And that ain't what we mean at all. You just heard the Professor Max say, look, he said, look, once I got the confidence, I realized I didn't need it.
Mm-hmm.
But something had to get him in the door. So
Yeah.
even though you use tricking as a strategy, or you say, well, I'm a trick, or you're power tricks, or you're talking about the power trick, these are merely strategies and tools. It's what governments power trick all the time. What the hell you think welfare is?
Mm-hmm.
Welfare is the biggest power trick experiment ever created. Social services are the biggest power trick experiments ever created, and I'm not saying that to put them down. Because of the capitalist society, you need a safety net. But what I'm saying is how it's used to foster dependency, how it's used to put people to sleep, how it's used to make people, in essence, love the government, even when the
Mm.
government is not so lovable. See? So when we talk about tricking and power tricking, it's not for you, it's not a substitute for self-respect, confidence, and self-identity. It's a strategy to say, use whatever your skills and attributes are. Damn what they talking about. You know, damn
Yeah.
what they say. Because you can't be them under no stretch of the imagination. You cannot be Kevin Samuels. You cannot be pimp and king. You cannot be so on, fill in the blank, so on and so forth. You cannot be that person. You have to be yourself and be confident in being yourself. It may sound cliche, but it's the truth. To thine own self be true. And
Right.
that's all we're saying at the end of the day. It doesn't mean you have to hate or dislike women. It doesn't mean that you have to drag women. It doesn't mean that you have to say that women are the quintessential symbol of evil. No, though some women are, as you seen in that video, in that
Hmm.
KDK video, rather. It,
Hold on.
it was a part.
Let me add add something onto that for some cats that don't know what you're talking about. I posted a video of a female who was talking to her so-called baby daddy over the phone while he was in jail. Y'all need to go
Alpha
ahead and
male.
yeah. You say alpha male?
Yeah, supposed alpha male.
Yeah. So y'all need to check that video out. It's called the Jailhouse Phone Call. It's because Tony been over here. He been talking about it, and a lot of cats maybe on here new that don't know what he talking about. Yeah, go to Mac and Macio's Man Cave and look up Jailhouse Phone Call, and you'll see what he talking about. Go ahead.
Yeah, and that was my purpose. That was what I wanted to contribute to Mac City. That was what I want to contribute to this channel. Is to stress that these guys need to be themselves. You're not hopeless. You're not hopeless. And you do if you have a certain way you like to do things, or there's certain desires or certain rules or regulations you have, stand on it. Stand on those rules and regulations. Now, by the same token, that's not a license for you to be abusive and to be decadent and to be disrespectful because you get shot like that. But if you have your rules and regulations as to how you're going to deal with women, stand on that, and you should be able to stand on that regardless as to what your situation is. You
I will
can be
check
disabled.
it.
You can, Brian, go ahead.
Yeah. Go ahead in your own words, man. Illustrate and tell us who do you think this movement is for, and who do you think this channel is for, man? Like, what? Who, who is the cat that you think would basically, uh, damn, um, oh my god, man, buckwheat. Who is the cat that would, well, yeah, benefit? Who's the cat that would benefit from actually adhering to this philosophy or listening to this channel?
The everyday dude, the
Okay.
everyday dude that does not fit the aesthetic of what the women that they're attracted to find desirable. The
Okay.
everyday salt of the earth dude, the everyday dude that get up and he has a 9 to 5. You get up and go to work every day. You work for everything you've gotten. You live life by the book. You are humble, just everyday person. From that guy, and this is going to shock you. Get ready for this.
Mm-hmm.
From guys like that, all the way to Negroes like Sean James.
Okay. Okay.
The guys that are outside of the system, the guys that are outside of the playing field of what is normally desirable, the guys that find themselves frequently called for favors, but seldom call for pleasure.
Right.
Those guys. Why? Because I was one of those guys. You
Mm-hmm.
see, until I came up on this website. Well, let me not paint it because I did have some W's. I can't say I didn't have any W's. I did, but it wasn't the type of W's I wanted. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't the type of W's that I wanted to have. So what happened was when I came up on the site of Mac City and I started discovering the tactics and the strategies and the things that could be used, to get what it was, I wanted at the time. That's what I did. That's how I used it. So it served guys like me. So in answer to that question, it's all the dudes that are outside the mainstream. It's the Rebel Alliance. If I was to use a Star Wars analogy,
Mm-hmm.
it's all the guys outside of the empire. You know, that's who it's designed to benefit. And by that, I don't mean every miscreant person with behavioral or personality disorders. If you have one of these things where you just don't like women and you can't stand women and you want to be without women, you want to live life without women, I'm not talking about you. I'm not talking about you. And likewise, I'm not talking about the nigga who, is chest beating and ball rubbing and he's an alpha male and he don't have to do this. This conversation is not about you. You don't find your way into this discussion. You stay the F out of this conversation because
Right.
obviously it don't include you. But strikingly enough, I find that the people that have the most smoke for the trick are the dudes who don't even